So just a reminder before we start, it's most important for this particular session that you all have your interpretation headsets ready, because we already know that there's going to be a question in Polish, and frankly, my Polish isn't very good, so I'm definitely going to need them. We have these on here so we can hear the interpretation when the questions come. I'm absolutely delighted to be facilitating this question and answer session. It's fantastic that you're spending so much time with us, with the European Commissioner for Cohesion and Reforms, Elisa Ferreira. So the information, can we put the information on the screen about how to get the interpretation, just to remind you? You should have hopefully already downloaded your Interactio app, and the interpretation code for here in the room is JTP23, and for online it's JTP23 online, so quite easy. And if you want to share what you're hearing and what the Commissioner is saying this afternoon on social media, please use the hashtag JustTransitionPlatform. Now, as you know, especially if you've attended these meetings before, Commissioner Ferreira is a passionate champion for achieving a just transition, actively promoting and encouraging the work done at these conferences, but also on the ground, and particularly now that we're in the implementation phase. Since she wasn't able to join us this morning, I'm going to give you a quick catch-up of what has happened so far, so she can be up to speed with all our discussions. So, after hearing about how the Just Transition fits into the frame of the European Green Deal, we then had a keynote speech from Director General of Regional and Urban Policy at the Commission, Themis Christophidou. Among other things, she said that the JTF is not only Europe at its best, but also cohesion policy at its best. And she spoke of the valuable support available across several streams and the army of transition experts available to help unblock issues that have been stalling the implementation so far. Then we had a lively roundtable discussion on delivering the just transition. We had various viewpoints with speakers representing the local level, trade unions, NGOs and youth, and academia. And of course, there was a representative from the European Commission on that panel too. They reflected on how the implementation is going so far, and they were talking about some of the challenges, and I'm sure we'll have some questions about some of the challenges. The key takeaways that I took from the meeting, there should be more anticipation and long-term planning, particularly in terms of funding. The just transition needs to be accelerated, so speed is very important. But in the session we just had just now, someone was saying there's a mismatch between the regulatory setup and the speed needed. So that's one of the things that's come out. Then we heard the most important involvement of young people. Most of the time it seems like they haven't been very involved in the planning stage, so at least let's get them involved in the implementation stage. Then we also need to create the capacities required to build new sustainable supply chains. So not just thinking about one business, but the whole supply chains. We need to change our thinking and the narrative. And last but not least, there are many positive examples already out there to share, which is what this conference is all about as well. We also ran some polls during the opening session to find out what people in the audience were thinking. And two things that came out that were interesting. We asked whether they thought, how they thought the just transition was going for social cohesion in the short term and the long term. Now, the majority in the short term said it was quite negative. But the good thing is that the majority in the long term see it as quite positive. And in a way, that's where conferences like this fit in to help move from that negative now to a positive future. And then we've just had a session just now where we've heard experiences on the ground from Italy, Sweden, the Czech Republic and Portugal. Their stories rang true with a lot of people in the room. There was a lot of people who are experiencing similar issues. The themes that I picked up from the discussions: problems about tight time frames, complementarity, awareness raising, skills and labour shortages, and EU state aid rules. But the good thing is that we're not alone. That was a message that's coming across quite a number of times, and there is a lot of real valuable help available. And that brings us to our session now. And we're going to have questions. Please, people online, you can already start sending in your questions now via the chat. I'll be asking for questions in the room. Please don't be shy. This is a fantastic opportunity, so do make the most of it. And I think we will start, first of all, without any delay. We'll have a short keynote speech from the Commissioner before we go to questions. So please give her a round of applause while you go.
Well, thank you very much, Aminda, and thank you also for having had the preoccupation to share what has been discussed this morning. Unfortunately, yes, I had the meeting of the college this morning, so I could not, attend. But nevertheless, as you were, rightly noting, a lot of colleagues, in particular the Director General Temis, she was here, and there are lots of colleagues that are listening, are taking notes. So whatever your message, is, you can count that we are listening and we'll reflect on it. So, well, in fact, I am glad to see that these discussions have been fruitful and also that you have gone to the core of the problems that are still affecting the delivery. I hope also that there was some inspiration from the good examples, and that because that's the purpose of this platform, is exactly to create conditions for you to exchange not only problems, but in particular solutions that can be found in quite similar problematic areas. And one of the messages that I hear frequently is that the Just Transition Fund and Just Transition Mechanism are in fact appreciated, that people value this instrument. However, we must in fact move always faster, speedily on implementation, and this I could not agree more, because in fact people need to have a vision for the future, but also to have a solution for their lives, because things are happening. And in fact, we must act now. If there is a message, I think let's speed it up. Earlier this year, I was, and I'll just quote 2 or 3 cases, but I was in Groningen in the Netherlands, a region that is very heavily impacted by the energy transition because of the recent shutdown of natural gas extraction, and because the region relies on a lot of energy-intensive industries. I was impressed by the attitude, by the progress being made as they shift towards recycled plastics, green hydrogen, and they are already creating new jobs and a whole new economic ecosystem. And I was trying to understand what is the secret, what is what is making things happen. And in fact, in that case, cooperation among the different companies was considered to be the most relevant takeaway. So having the different stakeholders together and engaging different sectors when it is possible, and the different companies. I was also in Romania, and I got lots of inspiration from Jiu Valley with this long tradition of coal mining. I met a very vibrant community, which was developed around the mines, and I was, guided through a touristic tour in the mines by the previous miners, which became very, very amazing and interesting touristic guides, because they could tell so many stories about how life was in the mines. And so it's now a museum, and we could see all the history, and there were people arriving to see how the mine worked. But on the side, there was a robotics club doing amazing small robots with children. They were really, very bright children, at least according to my past experience and my memories from my own childhood. But they were learning engineering, coding, and robotics. And in fact, we could tell that the skills that had made their parents and grandparents excellent miners were now being transformed into creating great engineers, great programmers, and in fact develop all this network around robotics. If anyone still doubts that people living in Europe's coal regions have a future, I was looking at these kids and their enthusiasm and what they had already managed to do, and I was really feeling that there is, an energy and a capacity that is absolutely remarkable. In Estonia, that I also visited very recently, and I was very close to the Russian border, and this I can testify how hard life has become. But it is an oil shale region, and I visited already the foundations of a large-scale rare earth magnet factory, apparently the first big magnet factory in the European environment. And I also visited a very interesting and sophisticated company that is enlarging itself, building filters for water, so cleaning water and depolluting water, which was really very, very interesting. So, in fact, in Finland, I also saw the phasing out of peat burning and moving into a renewable energy production and innovative circular economy solutions in the local pulp and paper industry. I also visited Taranto in southern Italy and engaged with local stakeholders. They have ideas, they have opportunities. We'll see how things go. This adds up to very nice experiences in Western Macedonia and Greece, where until recently 1 in 4 jobs depended on coal mining and coal-fired power generation. And in fact, they have already started to spot investments in energy-efficient buildings, in health centers, in urban regeneration, and much more. So I will not bother you with all the regions that I have visited. I just tried to show a couple of examples. Things are moving. I've also visited Poland in an early stage. So I've been moving around, trying, in fact, to meet people and try to understand what are the concerns, and you are the right people to organize the message so that we can really understand what the blocking elements and where we can anchor a success story. But from these visits and from exchanges, I think at least 3 lessons. First, the Just Transition Fund and Just Transition Mechanism are really addressing real needs. The needs are there. The transition is happening, and we need, it's not caused by us, but it happens. And so we need to be there to help to minimize the social and economic cost of transition. Second, I never underestimate the effort. Never. I think it's really a very brave process, a very difficult process, but at the same time, I do not also underestimate the resourcefulness and the ingenuity of the stakeholders, in particular people that have been active and doing a very sophisticated kind of work for all their lives, so they have the know-how. And in fact, their ownership of these projects, because people are taking their future in their hands and choosing what's next, and this is very important. And my third lesson is, in fact, that we must stay the course. We must remain true to our ambition. We must keep the projects on track, on time. The times are very challenging, and just the Transition Fund has the tight implementation schedule that you mentioned in your takeaways, but it is doable. It must be doable. It must be because the planned investments are absolutely necessary for development of the target regions. And as you know, you can count on us. As you were saying, you are not alone. We are together here in the European Commission, and all the people that are working on this dossier. We are together, and you can count on us. I, from my part, know how engaged you are and how different, although similar, the different situations across Europe are. And this Just Transition Platform Conference is living proof of that engagement. I would have liked to follow you throughout the whole time of the discussions, because I love to listen and I love to learn. But in fact, it is impossible because the agenda is absolutely, very, very stressful. So we are following up on whatever you want to tell us, and we are with you. It is a community, and in this community, we are leading such a profound transformation of the European economy, but this transformation is needed, and I'm sure it will work for all, and it will be a good example of what it means being European and what it means being in cohesion. So thank you very much once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's fascinating to hear so many different experiences from so many different regions with different problems, and also how they've tackled the problems in many beneficial and also inventive ways, which is very interesting. Now, before we come to questions, I just have one little question for you. I think it's almost an obvious one, but now after 4 years of this process and the Just Transition mechanism going forward, would you judge it as a success?
Well, I think it would be very arrogant from my side to say that it is already a successful project, but I truly believe that it is starting to deliver. It is needed. It is working. So when I visit all these areas that I just mentioned, I think we are on the right track. And we are starting to see the outcome and the result of this exchange between different stakeholders, different partners. And I am sure that we can say that it is a successful path that will lead us to a successful transition. We have done other transitions. I always talk about textiles, about steel, about shipbuilding, and some of them, they were not managed. Also, some of the mines that I visited, they were starting to close already in the past, in the 90s. Because it's the natural process. Economy is a dynamic process. And this time, I think we really have the instruments to minimize the costs, to minimize the damage to the society and to the livelihoods of people going through this transition. So I think the method is a success. The energy that we are putting on the ground is a success. And I think once we actually deliver, I think we'll be proud, all of us, of what together we have managed to do. I'm absolutely convinced of that, yes.
Thank you. Nice to hear proud and pride in the work, because it is so important what you're doing. And now it's time for you to put your questions to the Commissioner. So people in the room here, anyone want to ask a question, just put your hand up and I will send a microphone to you. And for those of you on the platform, please send them in. And we have Veronica who's monitoring, so we will come to the questions online when we have them. Everyone's being very shy, aren't they? Yes, aha, okay. Please can we have a microphone here, and then one to the gentleman in the back who's got his hand there. Okay, and are you going to be talking to us in Polish, right? We need to just everyone get your interpretation headsets ready if they're not already ready. Just give us 1 second, because we haven't got them on all the time, so we'll just have a listen. We have to, okay, and then it's 4 zeros, okay, and then okay. Excuse us, thank you for your patience. Right, have you got it?
Dzień dobry Państwu. Wielce szanowna Pani Komisarz, Szanowni Państwo. Nazywam się Alicja Messerschmidt. Przyjechałam z Polski, z Wielkopolski Wschodniej, z miasta Konina, 70-tysięcznego miasta Konina, z Zagłębia Konińsko-Turkowskiego, które od 2018 roku przechodzi transformację energetyczną. Szanowni Państwo, zanim zadam pytanie Pani Komisarz, to pozwólcie, że kilka zdań powiem na temat tego, co się dzieje w Koninie i dlaczego tu dziś przyjechałam. To nie tylko dziś, bo ja do Państwa przyjeżdżam na platformę od 2019 roku, gdzie już zabierałam niejednokrotnie głos, gdzie mówiłam o naszych problemach, ale te problemy są rozwiązywane, bądź jesteśmy już na takiej drodze, gdzie rzeczywiście bardzo dużo się dzieje. Tak jak powiedziałam, od 2019 roku przechodzimy transformację energetyczną, natomiast kopalnia w latach, grupa kapitałowa kopalni węgla brunatnego w latach 1970 liczyła około 15 000 pracowników. W tej chwili mamy mniej niż 3000, 2700 pracowników. Niestety ta transformacja spowodowała to, że część odeszła na emeryturę, oczywiście część ludzi została zwolniona. W międzyczasie zaczęliśmy od 2019 roku przygotowywać się do tej głębokiej transformacji, opracowując program pracowniczy. Wyciągnęłam lekcje z przyjeżdżania do Państwa na tą transformację. Rozpoczęliśmy program pracowniczy, który został perfekcyjnie wykonany. Został zauważony nie tylko w Europie, ale również w Waszyngtonie, gdzie gościliśmy u nas panią prezydent Brejdę, która była w Koninie. Natomiast oprócz tego programu szliśmy drugą drogą. Drugą drogą u siebie w Polsce z rządem polskim opracowaliśmy ustawę o urlopach górniczych i energetycznych. Ta ustawa została zaakceptowana przez rząd polski, ale pracowaliśmy tutaj jako rząd, pracodawcy i strona społeczna. Pogodzić 3 strony to jest pogodzić wodę z ogniem, ale pogodziliśmy, daliśmy radę, zwyciężyliśmy. Mamy tą ustawę przegłosowana przez Sejm Rzeczpospolitej, podpisana przez pana prezydenta. 22 września wniosek o notyfikację został skierowany do Komisji Europejskiej. I właśnie w tym temacie przyjechałam, bo proszę Państwa, dlaczego to jest dla nas tak bardzo ważne? W miesiącu czerwcu wydobyliśmy ostatnią tonę węgla z przedostatniej z 10 odkrywek. Nie zostało zwolnionych 400 pracowników, którzy na tej odkrywce pracowali, bo oni czekają na tą ustawę, czekają na tą notyfikację i musimy zrobić wszyscy i my Polacy, i Komisja Europejska zrobić wszystko, żeby ten wniosek jak najszybciej był podpisany. Tak bardzo nam na tym zależy. Ci ludzie stoją na krawędzi wielkiego wkopu i patrzą głęboko w ten wkop, czy rzeczywiście ta transformacja, Unia Europejska podpisze ten wniosek o transformację, czy my ich uratujemy razem z Komisją Europejską, czy oni zostaną zasypani tymi zwałami ziemi. Słuchajcie Państwo, ci ludzie zostali naprawdę w tragicznej sytuacji. Konin nie jest metropolią, gdzie można znaleźć zatrudnienie. My oczekujemy tego, że ci ludzie przejdą na urlopy górnicze, pracownikom, którym brakuje 4 lata do emerytury, będą mogli skorzystać z 80% płacy na tych urlopach bądź 12-miesięcznych odprawach socjalnych. Jest to pomoc publiczna dla nas, dla naszych ludzi i tutaj ja się zwracam do pani komisarz z wielką prośbą. Wiem, że być może nie bezpośrednio to od pani zależy, ale pracuje pani tutaj w Komisji Europejskiej. Liczę na to, że pani komisarz będzie rozmawiała, przekaże, jakie tutaj są w jakiej trudnej sytuacji znaleźli się pracownicy. Jak nie my, pani komisarz, nie my kobiety, które najbardziej rozumieją to, że nasze rodziny zostają bez środków do życia. Proszę Państwa, to nie jest tak, że my im znajdziemy zatrudnienie. My liczymy na to, że Państwo postawicie tą kropkę nad i. Tą kropkę nad i, gdzie powiecie tak, trzeba tym ludziom pomóc, tu i teraz. Proszę Państwa, 4 grudnia obchodzimy święto górnicze. Święto górnicze obchodzimy. Jeśli by ta ustawa do 4 grudnia przyszła, będę wdzięczna i liczę na to, że Państwo tutaj poprzecie nas. Że nas poprzecie i jeżeli uważacie, że ja tutaj to, co Państwu przekazałam, że trafiło to do Waszych serc, to trafi do serc całej komisji. Więc proszę bardzo, jeżeli jesteście za mną, dzisiaj słuchają Was tysiące koninian, którzy siedzą i oglądają ten program. Wyraźcie, wyraźcie oklaskami naszą, że popieracie moją wypowiedź, żeby ta ustawa została jak najszybciej podpisana.
Thank you.
Dziękuję bardzo.
Thank you very much. I think I'll ask you to answer that immediately, and then we'll come on to the next questions.
I can answer for
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Alicia. We have met before already, and in fact, it's a matter of state aid, so support to the miners in this transition that they are going through. I would like to congratulate you on your work and on having been able to have a plan and an agreement. Please do sit down. Please do sit down. I'm sitting as well. Having this agreement, having this plan. So the proposal from Poland came in September. I know that it has already been evaluated by our colleagues in DG Comp, so it's another section of the Commission. So I think they will put some questions probably for clarification, but we will do together our utmost to guarantee that solution that you have encountered and that is in fact is approved without further delay. I cannot promise, I cannot speak without this dialogue on the content being finished. But what I can promise is we don't forget, we are attentive and we'll do our utmost once we receive the answers to the questions that are being put to Poland about it. But congratulations on all your work and all your engagement. Thank you. Dziękuję.
Thank you.
Bardzo dziękuję pani komisarz. To są słowa jak miód na nasze serce. Dziękuję pięknie za wsparcie. Dziękuję za wsparcie i liczę, że Państwo doprowadzicie szybko. Będziecie mieć mnie po prostu z głowy. Ja już jestem na emeryturze i tak naprawdę nie będę już Wam zawracała głowy. Zróbcie tą notyfikację. Jak nie dla pracowników, to dlatego, że mnie się pozbędziecie. Dziękuję pięknie.
Thank you very much.
Okay, but I want to see you. Why not?
Thank you. And when you're speaking, please put the microphone quite close to the mouth because we've got an acoustic problem.
Sure, I'll do my best. I suppose
Thank
this
you.
is the good way. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Mateusz Kowalik from Poland, Polish Green Network. Actually, I'm here going to deliver a very short speech on behalf of a number of Polish non-governmental organizations. I would like to heighten what Ms. Messerschmidt said about the need of the notification. Actually, Polish non-governmental organizations also support the necessity of the state aid for the lignite and energy sector. And I'm here with the official letter, an official appeal for the European Commission with a very kind request for the support. So, if I may, dear Commissioner, I can deliver the letter, if that's okay.
Thank you.
And also, since this is a question and answer, I could also ask. You have been saying here that you've been traveling all across Europe, asking people what bothers them with the process. So I'm extremely curious about what did you find out. And since we're now not in the process of ideas, but implementation of the just transition process, what did you find out in terms of non-governmental organizations help in this very phase of just transition? Thank you.
Well, yeah, thank you very much. And in all the traveling that I've been doing, there are certain elements that I find extremely important. One of them is, in fact, the participation as stakeholders of NGOs. I met several of them all across Europe, and also universities, technological centers. They can very often be a source of solutions, of alternative activities, because they have knowledge, they develop new technologies, and they can really provide answers that are in the sense of diversifying and bringing new actors, new companies into the markets. I also find very useful our discussions with groups of young people. Sometimes they are not organized as proper NGOs, but nevertheless, when I meet young people, and I've been meeting a lot of them, I met them in Estonia, I met them in Poland, I met them in Greece, in Western Macedonia, and I even invited, and in Romania, from Geo Valley, all these young guys that are really, I mean, Planeta Petril, and so there is an energy that we need to bring this new energy, this young approach, these out-of-the-box approaches to the core of the solutions that are proposed. Because we need to diversify, we need to bring in new blood, but we need to do it right. We need to clean the land. We need to guarantee that the future is not, by definition, looking backwards, that is future-oriented, more technological, more digital, more green, but this is words, unless you really materialize it with new ideas, new energy. So that's why we insisted a lot that we don't work on this project top-down, but that we find the right ingredients at the local level, and that through this dialogue between place-based policies and the central level, we really manage to solve problems that often are bigger than what can be solved locally. But the two movements, if they are adequately combined, they can really deliver very interesting results. So thank you for your work and your engagement, and it's important that you agreed with what Alicia mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. We have more time for questions. I can see one over here and one over there. We'll go for these two first. And I'll take the two questions together. And if we could try and keep the questions nice and short, because we have got time, but it would be nice to get as many questions in as possible for the Commissioner. Please tell us who you are and what your question is.
Hello, I am from Ukraine, і мені Ukrainian speaking ask, maybe you translate.
Right, so we need Ukrainian. Okay, well, we need English back again. 1 second, thank you. Thank you for warning us. Oops, oops.
Sorry.
2 microphones on the floor. Thank you. Ready?
Ready?
Go.
Як я вже сказала, ми з України. Дуже раді бути частиною цього форуму. Дякуємо за підтримку. Хочемо всім...
Hang on a second. We want to make sure she can hear you. This is most important.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, technology sometimes has its... Okay?
Є?
Okay.
Є?
Right.
Хочу
Yes, we do have translation. Thank you.
Да, хочу повторитися, хочу подякувати всім і кожному за підтримку нашої країни в цей складний час. І я дуже дякую за те, що ми є, наша організація, делегація українська є присутня тут на цьому форумі. Ще до військових дій. Я представляю громадську організацію «Територія сталого розвитку». І до військових дій ми працювали в Донецькій області, маленьке шахтарське містечко, там 2 шахти було, і ми саме використовували досвід, про який ви сказали, робототехніка і програмування для дітей та молоді. І в нас був дуже успішний проєкт. Ми організовували фестивалі робототехнічні для дітей та молоді, які впроваджували для вугільних міст Донецького регіону. І я повинна сказати, що це дійсно працювало, бо діти і молодь після таких фестивалів, вони казали так, вони вже задумувались, що не треба йти нам далі в шахтарі, бо до того вони казали, мій батько був дід шахтарем, і мені потрібно туди йти. А коли вони вже отримували новий досвід, і ми давали такі теми фестивалів, там інноваційних проєктів, що потрібно запропонувати свою інноваційну ідею, що робити в своєму регіоні, і це просто вау-ефект, і це дуже класно. Ми також приймали участь у європейських і міжнародних змаганнях, перемагали, у нас такий дуже великий досвід. Мені дуже відкликається, як ви кажете, що це дуже класно працює, що молодь треба підтягувати. У мене таке питання. Ми, як українська організація з України, чи можемо свій досвід реалізувати і у нас, і в Європі, чи можемо подаватись на проєкти, організовувати ці робототехнічні фестивалі? І хочу ще раз подякувати за роботу, яка ведеться в рамках трансформації вугільних регіонів. Це дуже важливо. Дякую.
Thank you. And we'll go to the question with we had a microphone over here, and this was Joanna. We had her on our panel this morning representing youth and NGOs, so I think we're continuing the theme of youth here.
Exactly, yes. So my name is Joanna Jakubowska, and I work at the Bankwatch Network, and I had a pleasure to take part in the opening panel and provide my insight into the involvement of the youth in the just transition process. And I wanted to ask you, dear Commissioner, because you mentioned youth on several occasions, and I'm very happy about it. And as Bankwatch, we are actually part of a really interesting project that is called EU Teams for Green. It was already mentioned today by Sofia Alves. And this project provides really unique opportunity for young people to implement their own ideas in the just transition regions. So as Bankwatch, we are working on policy recommendations for the improvement of governance of the cohesion policy, which will be drawn based on the experience of this in this project. So this will be something that will be presented next year. So I'll be happy to hand over our work to you, and hopefully it will serve for the improvement of the cohesion policy. And my question is, as this project finishes only next year, is there any maybe willingness from the Commission to continue something like this? Because we already see that there is a tangible impact of this initiative, and would be really nice to see something like this in the future as well.
Okay, thank you. Two very different questions there.
Yes, well, thank you very much. To the Ukrainian lady, thank you very much for, standing up and saying what you said. You thanked us, but we have got to thank you, because in fact you are defending Europe and the democracy and our values. And on the other hand, I think we also can learn a lot from you, not only in what concerns resilience, but also in this capacity to keep working and to keep the state functioning in the middle of a terrible war. I always admire the capacity that you have to be working and engaging in all your commitments and working with schools. And I visited a lot of cities and places where Ukrainian children and women were. And it's amazing the capacity to get organized and to follow the classes through the internet. It's amazing the kind of examples that you are giving us. So, of course, there is all these lines of support to Ukraine that you know. So it's a matter of addressing in detail what is the projects you are talking about, because I'm sure that there will be some way or another to engage and to get this relationship going. It's our purpose that also, seeing the future accession, that in fact we learn by sharing and we get used to the practices that really build a common market and a common culture across all the members. So I think there is no problem, and I just wanted to thank you for what you do, and please transmit to your citizens, fellow citizens, this message. Joanna, yes, it's... Joanna, I don't know the details of the project, but in fact, there is a continuity, not only inside the Just Transition plan and instrument, but also from cohesion policy. There is an incredible amount of funding, of support, of mechanisms. In fact, we need this energy. You just illustrated what I had just said, because in fact, the young people, we need you. Europe is becoming too old. It's becoming, we are losing a lot, the best, the more qualified, the most energetic. So it's really, I think, a common endeavor, a common objective for all of us European citizens to make sure that we create the conditions for the young, qualified people to be able to raise a family if they so wish, to live in the place where they want to live, and in fact that we don't have this kind of hemorrhagic brain drain out of a lot of places across Europe. But for this we need to work not only with just transition projects, but also with cohesion policy, so that by combining the right instruments, if we have a vision of where we want to go, we really deliver this kind of positive life for our young people. Just to illustrate what I'm saying, because it's not just words, our estimates from the Commission are that if we don't control this loss of births in Europe and this loss of young people that go away, that immigrate. I mean, if the trend continues, in 2050, we will have less 35 million citizens in active life, in the active population. 35 million is a big country, so that will disappear in terms of people in working age and able to contribute to our common economy and life and wealth. So this is really a big sign of alert. We produced a communication called Harnessing Talent in European Regions, because a lot of regions are in this process of losing their best ones. And this is something that we have got to have intelligent to stop while we can, because it's really, I mean, a process that is going on, and it's a long-term, one of those long-term trends. So thank you for your work and your engagement, Joanna. Thank you.
Thank you. We have some questions online, and then I'll come to the ones in the audience, but if we can put a microphone there. Veronique, would you like to tell us what the audience is asking online?
Yes, there's one question. The person would like to know whether you, Commissioner Ferreira, came across any projects or experiences in your missions in the Just Transition regions where Just Transition intersects with the new European Bauhaus initiative.
Did you? No, I think we'll take the one from the online audience. There was only one at the moment. Yeah, okay.
Well, that's a good question, because it was mentioned in several of the visits I did. I didn't see the project built, because the concept of new European Bauhaus is present in a lot of the plans. And when I speak with people, they often mention it as well. What are we talking about, for those that are not so engaged, is once you are doing things, do things in an inclusive way. I mean, buildings, gardens, infrastructures. Try to do it with three characteristics: that they are inclusive. That means that they are not elite projects, that can be, in fact, projects that can be reproduced and can be an inspiration for others. On the other hand, that it is sustainable, of course, economically, but also in relation to the connection with the environment, so sustainable projects. And lastly, why not, that it is beautiful, that the project is beautiful. Because beauty, I know that it's not something that we can have legislation on what is beautiful, but we all know that if we have a beautiful center, a beautiful garden, you feel better. You get out of your home and you understand that greening is not just words for politicians. Having a green environment is something that gives you pleasure. In cohesion policy, standard cohesion policy, we see a lot of them, and we have the majority of the partnership agreements, the agreements between member states and the Commission for 21-27. They include this. And we'll see what comes out in the just transition areas, because there is a lot of potential by reconverting some of the miners' houses, for instance, reconverting some mines, making them sustainable. I think a lot of the young people in Dewey Valley and in Planeta Petrila mentioned that they wanted to do things under this kind of paradigm. There are several places where, in fact, the concept is there. Let's see what people produce, bearing in mind this concept that is absolutely crucial. Once you rebuild something, let's do it nice, let's do it beautiful. And I have visited, for instance, some social housing that were doing really looking awful and derelict. And all of a sudden, just by small changes, by introducing some panels with holes and lights and flowers across all the balconies, the whole building was beautiful. It became a kind of a dream kind of thing, and it was such a simple thing. So there are lots of nice examples across. that can be an inspiration, and I invite you to be attentive, even in particular the young people, Joanna. Up to 30, you can really get a prize if you had a good idea how to address, a reconversion in an area. Why not? And it's quite an interesting prize anyway. So please, the floor is yours for that.
Thank you. Interesting, we were talking about affordable housing before, the need for affordable housing, but also affordable, beautiful housing. Your question? Anyone else? Okay.
So my name is Rumiana Grozev. I'm coming from the Regional Development Agency of Stara Zagora, Bulgaria, the only one country that not approved just transition plans yet, but they submitted already, fortunately. So it's not the question, it's an invitation. Thanks for cooperation with the Commission. We had also current projects implementing on this field, just transition in the region. And they're really very, very supportive of our efforts to deliver information, to deliver knowledge to the regional level. In the end of November, you're organizing the 4th edition of social policy dialogue called New Energy Mix, which has started under the CARP project. And I'd like to invite you to join us with your speech, with your experience and knowledge from other regions, both with Commissioner Ivanova, because we know that the just transition is also mean technologies, innovations, etc. Because in my opinion, my personal experience, the transition is a matter also of communication, very strong communication and trust between all stakeholders. This is why I think that if you could participate even online, it will be great. And if you could come in person, I will meet you with all our 3 EU Team for Green projects implementing in the region and moderating by the Regional Development Agency. Thank you in advance.
Thank you. And well, I don't think we can necessarily commit, and you have to look at your diary first, but...
Yeah, I need to see the dates, but first let me just underline how important it is that Bulgaria joined in this process. I understood, I had lots of conversations with Bulgaria authorities. I understand that the political instability wouldn't allow them to commit, but now the movement is there. I've been, in fact, in Bulgaria. I went to Vidin, to the border. So I saw the Danube in Vidin. I went to the whole road up there, and of course I was in the capital as well. But I visited a bit. But I was doing cohesion at that time. I could not visit these areas because there were these doubts. So I'll be very, very interested in doing that, if possible, in visiting once the plan is established and that we have something more concrete. But I cannot commit because it depends on the timing. But please send me an email as usual to Simeona and we'll address it, okay? Thank you. And also there is here, Francisco, you can leave the message with him, okay, on the dates and everything.
Okay, we have one. I'm afraid we've almost finished, so we've got time for one last question, which was already signaled at the back. I'm sorry.
Hello, everyone. I'll try to be as short as possible. My name is Admir, and I'm representing the city of Zrince. And
talk slowly and clearly into the microphone.
Can you hear me?
Now that's much better. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'm from city of Zrince, an expert advisor for local economic development. I would like to formally thank you very much for your initiatives and in my invitation, City of Zrince, from Bosnia and Herzegovina to be a member of this group and this panel, actually. We in the City of Zrince, we are actually member of some initiatives that are focusing on the transition, just transition, but in Western Balkans. And as some of you may know, there are 2 coal mines in the city of Zrince, and we are facing certain issues when it comes to the transition, just transition and decarbonization. And on that behalf, on that note, we are trying to do as much as possible to actually implement certain projects when it comes to the just transition. the initiative that was undergoing, and we were part of that, is ending by the end of this year, and we were wondering if there will be the continuation of those initiatives, certain initiatives, considering that Bosnia and Herzegovina is a non-EU member country. Yes, and we have certain, as you know, we have certain problems when it comes to accessing certain funds. And in our fight, I would say, in those transitions. So on that note, it would be good maybe to know if the commissioner would like to maybe answer if there will be a continuation of those projects and initiatives for countries from Western Balkans. And again, in the name of our mayor, Mr. Began Mukic, he's also present here. We'd like to thank you for all the support that you are giving countries in Western Balkans. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It looks like it's your lucky day. I was going to say no, but if the commissioner says yes, then who am I to say no?
Thank you very much, dear Commissioner. My name is Radana Leistner-Kratochilova. I'm from the Czech Republic. We have 3 regions in our operational program, and these regions have chosen 32 now strategic projects or projects of a strategic importance. And many of them have been already in the process. They have applied already in February, and some of them we need to assess concerning the state aid. These operations are sometimes over 100 million euros, and it is very important for the regions to have them implemented. And we are facing a situation that we do not have a single contact in the DG competition to be able to support us in the assessment of the state aid. I would really ask you to help us in this matter. I'm sure other regions also face the same. We've heard it today. That would be a great help. We know that one of the projects now we will actually have to consult with the DG Compet, and we will be waiting for the answer. We do not want to notify it because that would take a long, long time. We just need consultations. We don't have contacts.
Okay. Well,
okay, thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for sharing also your experience from Bosnia Herzegovina. It is important for us to have this feedback of the cooperation, but I personally think that I mean, all those countries that are in the process of enlargement, of accession, future accession, it is more and more needed to do this kind of interchange. The Just Transition Fund specifically is very limited in terms of the budget. We are faced with all this adding up of different funding, but also from the point of view of the cooperation that is financed by Interreg and the external dimension of Interreg, there is a lot of support to all these countries. Of course, it was interrupted with Russia and Belarus, but this cooperation from cohesion policy was stopped in relation to these 2 countries. But nevertheless, the funds that were dedicated were redistributed internally to reinforce other projects. And so I believe that there are 2 dimensions. One is the different funds that are available, and the other aspect is to the methodologies that we are testing can be an inspiration, as you just mentioned, and our colleague from Ukraine also was referring to it. Sometimes the methodology, the context, the interaction also are an important added value for the future. So the Just Transition Fund as such is one thing, but all the mechanisms that we have prepared for pre-accession and for support to the border areas of the European countries is quite useful in that context. In relation to what you mentioned, yes, the case that I referred to in relation to Alicia was more not normal state aid, but was state aid to support employees I mean workers, not really the companies. Anyway, I know the Czech issues, and I think the applause in that case was to confirm that you need a kind of focal point also in DG Comp. So I take the message. I was, even today, I was addressing this issue of state aid. And in fact, I visit Carol Ivari, and so I had this opportunity to see. I didn't see yet because I went there very early on time, and so nothing was yet prepared. Although there were lots of ideas with this porcelain company and the tradition of the area, so lots of things. And the thermal waters and all this, but nevertheless, yes, I see that we need to facilitate because from the Commission side, I will take good care of creating this kind of focal point that really complies with the calendar, the strict calendar and complexity that you are faced with. I'm very much aware of that. Thank you for alerting me for that. Okay.
Thank you. Well, I'm afraid we've run out of time. I'd like to thank you all for your questions and your statements and comments. Thank you for sending questions in online as well. And thanks, of course, to Commissioner Ferreira for spending time with us to answer so long and so detailed and spend time with us today. Please share your takeaways on social media using the hashtag #JustTransition platform. You now have a chance to get a quick coffee until 4:15, when the next session will be discussing energy storage. Can you just wait a second till because I'd like to give a final round of applause and thank you to the Commissioner. So energy storage. An opportunity for coal and carbon intensive regions. So that's not one to miss at 4:15 back here. Thank you all, and with that, I'm now going to close this session.
Thank you to all of you. Thank you to all of you. Thank you.